The Chord Whisperer.
Hello and welcome back to The Chord Whisperer, and this is exciting because we're tackling one of the biggest songs of all time, and I can say that without any qualification. It clearly is. You go and ask anyone what's the biggest song of all time, many of them are going to say this. Hey, you know what it is. You clicked on this because it says it in the title. It's Bohemian Rhapsody. It's the biggest song of all time. There's no point arguing against that. It's just an opinion. So what we're going to be looking at is the harmony, the chords, the chord progression, how they work, why they work, if they work, and what the logic is. Because a lot of the time when we think about Bohemian Rhapsody, we think about the craziness of it. It goes all over the place. No. What are those chords? Why are they there? Are they chords? Do they work? Where's it conventional? Where's it's not? All of that is what we're trying to look at, as well as hearing a little, play a little bit of it, try and put it together, see what the options are or were. That's it. Let's have an x-ray. Let's look inside it and see what's going on. As ever, we'll be illustrating what I'm talking about with my C chord charts that I will be looking at here. And if you don't understand what they are, then do have a look at the tutorial. The link is in the comment below to find out why I find them so helpful and what it can show us that's very hard to see any other way. So without any further ado, let's crack on. It's the first chord. It's the introduction. Start straight away with vocals. Is this the real life? And it's actually a pretty conventional start. A 6-2-5-1 landing on B flat. I can see that here. And B flat really is the key of the first two verses. And so what better way to establish a key than to come down in a 6-2-5-1. So basically you're taking the dominant and then you're going up another fifth and you're going up another fifth and you're coming down. That's what music likes to do. It gives it some coherence. I suppose the unusual thing about it is it doesn't start with a chord of B flat. If it did, well, here's the thing. G minor 7 could be a B flat 6. It's the same chord. G, B flat, D and F. Just rearrange it. B flat, D, F and G. It's the same chord. So maybe this is a B flat 6 chord. It depends on the arrangement, on the inversion and that sort of stuff. So I've called it G minor 7 just because it sounds a little bit more like a G minor 7 than a B flat major 6 to me. If we took out the G's completely and had a B flat chord, still works perfectly well because B flat major, G minor, relative minor, you can swap them out. C7, not C minor 7, which technically is the chord in the family of B flat major. Not C major, but it's a very common thing in a 2-5-1. For the 2 to actually be a dominant 7, so the 2 is actually the 5 of the 5. That doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry about it, it doesn't matter. All you need to know is that this, which is the first 4 chords, is a nice logical way of establishing the key, which is B flat major. But we're not just straight into the verse at this point. If this was a Beatles song, like many have analysed, that might be the little 10-20 second bit at the beginning and then we go straight into the verse. In this case, this intro is a little extended. And this is all just dancing around the tonic. This is you wouldn't really know that you were in for anything unusual up to this point, apart from the fact that we don't really feel like we're in a verse. It already feels a little bit more freeform than that. But chord-wise, nothing to get too excited about. G minor, B flat 7, E flat, C minor. There's the C minor that's in the same family of chords as B flat. F7, and now's where we get our first bit of weirdness. And this is worth spending a little bit of time on. So, first of all, we've come from an F7 chord, and especially as the key we're in, being B flat, we would expect that to go to B flat. So, in your eyes, look up to the stars and see, I'm just a poor boy, I need no sympathy. That's what it should do. Everything about that chord sequence is taking us back to B flat. Then we can start the verse, no problem at all. No, Freddie. We want something crazy, and you can see the craziness on the chart. The fact that up till now everything's looking quite kind of gentle and flowing, and things tending to move in fifths or between relative majors and relative minors, and now we get this chromatic section. So chromaticism in a chord progression. If there's just two chords next to each other and they're a semitone apart, so like C major and C sharp major, then we have a lot of ways of explaining how that can work, especially actually if they go down. So F sharp major to F major. We can say the F sharp major is a substitution. It's clearly not F sharp, it's clearly a C chord instead, and that's the 5. Jazz does that a lot. So normally when I see chromaticism in music, it's with two chords next to each other, and one of those chords can kind of be swapped out for another one, and you can keep the harmonic sense and you can keep the harmonic shape, and you can be like, I understand why that's a chromatic chord. The other time that you might hear it a lot is in popular music, where you just get a key change that goes up. So pop music, jazz music, like just that lift into another key, and often that key is a semitone up, so that would be a chromatic shift. If well prepared, you would put the dominant of that new key in first, but sometimes you just get bang, new key, semitone up. When you see three chords next to each other that are all one semitone apart, then things can get difficult. You can still explain it actually with the substitution. So if I have a D, G, C pattern, then that middle chord, the G, I can substitute for its tritone, which is the C sharp, and we get a chromatic. An uncomfortable chord, it can be voiced better than that, and it makes more sense. So again, actually three chords, it's okay. We haven't got three chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chords. They go up, they go down, they're all chromatic. There's no way of explaining this away in conventional harmony. There is no way that Bach or Mozart, even in their wildest moments, very strong use of chromaticism 350 years ago, but still there's tending to be more intricate use of joining notes and voice leading and things like that. Here we have straight chromaticism. Now, B flat is the middle chord of those, so we're still in the home key. We still feel like, okay, this is wavering around the home key, and that gives us at least some sense of stability, with that B flat being the middle one. There it is. However, there's something else about this. It's not so much the harmony, it's the arrangement. These are not root position chords. These have the third in the bass, very unsettling, very fluid harmony. You can really fly off to anywhere from here. But it doesn't. We just get now essentially a slightly drawn out 4-5-1. Into B flat, into the first verse, in B flat, which is the key we've been in the whole time. There's a little interesting moment. It's one of those ambiguous chords. Is it a G diminished? Is it C sharp minor 6? I'm probably not going to go into that. I've written it as a G diminished. It's not. It's really a C7 in disguise. See how lovely that sounds? Classic substitution. This G diminished is actually a C flat 9 11. Of course it is. We knew that. It just hasn't got the root note in there. We can put it in. It's a C7. I've put that on the chart. You'll see that two options, one going up to the G diminished. Technically I wouldn't really call that a G diminished. You'll have to look at another video, hopefully of mine, to work out, to have the diminished chords explained. They have no root. I put G just because it's closest, but it's a C7 or a diminished chord. Here we go, we're into the verse. The classic riff. Beloved by piano players because of the cross-hand thing, makes you look super cool. And it's not that hard. But we're not looking at that, we're looking at the harmony. And the harmony of the verse is like any other conventional song you could want. It's just perfect. Follows all the rules of harmony to the letter. B flat, G, C, F. Then we got nothing unusual there. Yes, there's a descending bass line. But in fact, all the chords they're doing there is another 2 and a 5, C minor, F, and then E flat. It doesn't go to the B flat like maybe we expect, but it goes to the E flat, which is the 4. I mean, we are getting a lot of these bass lines echoing that chromaticism of this. And that really creates some sort of passing harmonies that they're not structural, they're not part of the overall harmonic story, the chord progression, which is what I've shown on here. If you put them all in, you do tend to get a bit of a mess, and then they're really not that interesting because they're alterations of a chord that stays the same throughout. Even when we get a major minor thing here, to me it's still not changing the fundamental harmony at that moment, so that's why I've left them in. C minor. There's a thing. So this represents a similar thing to a 2-5-1 that would on the chart come down from 2 above the tonic, 2, and then the 5, and then the 1. This one comes up. And to make it slightly more exotic, we've got a minor chord. We maybe would expect a major chord fall there. What would that sound like? happier, isn't it? And this 4 chord, the E flat, is going to take us into B flat, which is the more rocky side, the more John Lennon versus Paul McCartney side, the slightly harder edge. So that's quite interesting. Then we're into verse 2. And verse 2 does the same thing, right? Up to the guitar solo. And the guitar solo is over the same sort of chord. It's nothing unusual. It follows the same pattern of the verse. We're absolutely fine until right at the end. And this is where we start to go into the realms of startling, stunning originality. The rules have gone out the window and new rules have been put in their place. It's worth saying again that a song that we've heard so many times and we've listened to so many times can start to sound normal, even though it's not. So, we hear Bohemian Rhapsody now and we can sing along with it and we know where it's going next because we've heard it so many times, not because it's following the rules of harmony and music that have been set down before, but because it's created its own familiarity. And so it's like, well, of course that chord comes next, and if it didn't, we would be utterly shocked. Of course we would, but don't be fooled by familiarity. Try and take yourself back to the first time you heard this song and you're just trying to get a handle on what you were hearing, not just in terms of the harmony, but the arrangements, the words, the incredible voices, the differences in style, the references. Try and take yourself back to that first moment. And, quite often with songs that we love and that are so much part of the canon of works that we all know, that shared language, we can all talk about Bohemian Rhapsody, we can all talk about Good Vibrations or whatever it is. So often with these songs, we forget what our reaction was the first time. We assume that our minds were blown the first time we heard an original song, and it may very well be that was the case. But I suspect more often than not, it was just sort of confusion and a bit like, not sure, this is a bit weird. And so when we read reviews of great classical landmark works or landmark albums, Sgt. Pepper, other like The Wall, sometimes those reviews look like, oh man, you missed the mark, way missed the mark there, you're calling it kind of uncomfortable and too progressive and it's this and it's that and the other. But of course it's only over time that these things become masterpieces, and there are countless songs and works and art out there that no one's got past that stage. We're like, it's just too weird, I can't handle it. So a little rabbit hole there, but let's look at what makes this familiar sounding song suddenly go into a place where the rules break down. And it starts here. First of all, this D flat chord. Now, we've been in F minor, and F minor is in the key of B flat, albeit we normally expect F major. F minor is it's a lovely chord. The minor on the 5 is a lovely chord to use. But it's through that F minor chord that we can go to D flat. It's the relative major of F minor. If that was an F major chord, as it was at the start of the verse, here, it would be harder to go to the D flat. Works perfectly well. But anyway, the D flat is not a huge leap from the F minor, and then this is. Musically speaking, we've gone from, it's hard to say what key we were in at this point. Let's say we're still in B flat. B flat has two flats in the key signature. It has to have flats because it's B flat. We couldn't call it A sharp. We could call it A sharp major, but who would want to? Oh yes, Bach, but we're not him. It's B flat major. From B flat major to A major. It's chromatic. It's one semitone down. But it's one of those key change moments that isn't prepared, isn't explained. There's no excuse for it. It's not like a uplifting repeat the chorus in a slightly higher key and everyone goes home thinking they've had an epiphany. It's just a fairly brutal change from and you can hear it doesn't make sense. If I just play the chords, we're back to that first moment of hearing the song, being like, what? There would be ways you could tie the D flat and the A chord together. They have a note in common. But really I want to emphasise that it is a deliberate jump to an unrelated key. There's nothing intrinsically musically intelligent here. I'm not saying that Freddie Mercury wasn't an intelligent writer. I'm just saying at this moment I think there's a deliberate intent to shock and to change everything. And it's not just the feel that the harmony that changes, it's the feel of the whole song, it's the words, the rhythm changes. Suddenly the use of imagery comes in. It's like, this is a different section. It's not a chorus. And it's worth pointing out that there hasn't been a chorus in this song. We've had an introduction, a verse 1, a verse 2, and a little guitar solo, but no chorus. So we might be expecting maybe a bridge. And that, I suppose, is what this next bit is an elongated bridge section. So we've arrived in A major. Are we in A major? Is that chromaticism, that three-note chromaticism? You know, you heard it, I heard it, it's there. There's only two chords that are structural harmonic chords here. Again, it's ambiguous, so I've put it as an A diminished. A, D, A diminished, A, D, A, D, A, D, A, D, A, A, D, A, A, D, A, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, if A is the one. Now, it ends up back in A through a 5-1, thankfully. Perfect cadence, the way to establish a key, the way to re-establish a key, the way to finish in a key, the way to start in a key, the way to change to a different key. It's a 5-1. If you don't know that, go learn it. Perfect cadence. And again, we've been through a little journey here. It does have some logic. You can see that on the chart. It does have a kind of path from the A flat to the C to the E. An augmented change. John Coltrane would definitely use that. Going with the different notes in the bass. It's throwing lots of things at the wall. They're all major chords. None of the inversions are all over the place. D flat over A flat, A flat 7, C major over G, E7, and we're back to A. I mean, here we haven't got enough notes to really say what the harmony is. This is two parts just kind of tracing. I don't find it helpful when we have two notes or two parts that are moving like this to really get too hung up on what the harmony is. So I just kind of left it there as A. Here, that is definitely a C minor 7. What's that doing there? No idea. Now, we know that. And it's in the same place as it was before. It's not quite the same arrangement as it was before, but it's very similar. So this was right from the introduction. This has been brought into the bridge section. Really, really clever. I love it. But also we had an echo of it here. There's a hook, there's a riff, a theme, call it what you want, that runs through this, and it's this. That's it. If you have to boil down the signature of this tune, I would say it's probably that. Nice and conventional. Thank you. We've landed in B flat, and this was around B flat. It's a very kind of almost Beethoven classical, early romantic sort of feel, and this is a lot of the magic of this piece is it's drawing in musical influences and influences from many, many different genres, from classical, from jazz, from rock, and from pop, mashing them all together. Opera. And we're on to the Bismillah section, which really is only on two chords. Again, it's the arrangement that makes this interesting. Harmonically, it's not actually that interesting. What is interesting is coming up. F sharp 7. I mean, on the chart, it looks like I've put it as a G flat 7. Where does that come from if we're in B flat? Ooh, nice, scrunchy. There's some notes in common, but it's not somewhere we're looking to go. It's not somewhere we're looking to link up. Again, a deliberate jump outside the key. And then this. So these chords are actually a series of little 5/1s in different keys, but we don't hear them like that. We hear these together, these together, these together. At least I do. That's where the beats are, 1 and 2 and 1. The 5/1s straddle those beats. So A, D, that's a 5/1. C sharp, F. B flat, E flat. I can't see a pattern to why he picked those particular 5/1s. We've ended in E flat. Back to conventionality. E flat, A flat, G7, C. That's fine. That's fine. That's the sort of thing we want. And a big B flat 7. What does a big long 7th chord that builds up lead the ear to? It leads us to the key that's down a 5th from that. Sure enough, that happens. This is one of the moments he hasn't defied convention. Big long B flat 7, and then we're into the wig out section. Okay, so the wig out section is basically it's like a different song. Are we going to find anything that we've had previously? We seem to be in E flat now, not in B flat like we were at the start, and it's pretty conventional. A little hard rock edge on that D flat chord below the line, so yeah, edgy. But apart from that, B flat 7 and E flats. Could call that a C. A flat, F minor 7, B flat 7, F minor 7, B flat, F minor 7, B flat, E flat. Could be any song, could be a children's nursery rhyme. Chord sequence that will work for anything you want. Lovely, almost quite simple, naive, but we're treated with this rock edge. Just gives a nice harmonic structure to launch off. Now we're back. Slightly weird, and then we just sort of jump with this riff across some keys. It's not quite the same adventurous jumping as we had before, and it's not chromatic, so we haven't seen this in this section, but it is unusual. So we start with the E flat, and then F, G flat major, B major, maybe C flat major, A flat major, B flat major. It's crazy. E flat, F, G flat, C flat, A flat, B flat. It's hard to hold on to. It's hard just to play those chords. But it makes sense. Big B flat 7 at the end. And again, just the same thing we had to take us into this section. It's going to take us out of this section with a big 5-1 into E flat. Nice and conventional. G major to C minor. So 5-1, 5-1. B flat 7 to E flat, 5-1. So similar to this. Another 5-1, D7 to G minor. We've had that before. Before, didn't we? Because nothing really matters. End of the first verse. So this is really tying in a lot of different things that we've heard before. E flat. C minor, G. So we are finishing conventionally. The craziness is over. That's all behind us in our past. And now it's a retrospective. It's pulling in some themes from the song that we've heard before. Interestingly, not that one. C minor, G minor. Much more minor than we've had before. And we've had this before. This was the way from verse 1 to verse 2 with this A flat minor, the flat 4. But this time we're using it for a different purpose. This time it's a darkening of the harmony. F minor 9, B flat 9. Here's the chromaticism. Here it is. Again, it's kind of in the bass, or it's hidden. So this is. There's the bass line. Great use of a diminished chord there. So diminished chords can take us out of our harmonic world and put us somewhere else quite quickly. If we're stuck in A flat and E flat, to put in this E flat diminished, B flat minor, C7. Now we're in F. We've not been in F the whole piece. F has been a functional chord as a 5 to take us into B flat, as the 2 of the 5 to take us into E flat. It's not had any role other than to help out other keys, and it's not expected here. We've landed in E flat. We've had a couple of big B flat 7s landing on E flat. We had one at the end. We should finish this song in E flat. There's no doubt. Can we? We're fine. Why didn't you do that, Freddie? This is not far away at all. C7 is great. C7 into E flat is going to give us a lovely 6-2-5-1, or if you prefer, the dominant of the dominant of the dominant of the tonic. We could have dominant 7th chords all the way down. That's what Nat King Cole would have done. But Freddie Mercury was not Nat King Cole, thank goodness. We're just gonna end here. It's hard to stress how unusual it is for a song to finish in a different key to the one it started in. Possibly we might get songs that finish in the major when they started in the minor. Certainly in classical music that's a well-recognised technique, but it's generally a sort of switch right at the end, bung in a major chord. I suppose sometimes we could end in the minor if we've started in the major. And I suppose a classical piece could end in a different key if it's long enough to have been through a few different sections, but super unusual. In terms of popular music, rock music, there can but be a few examples. None other come to mind to me at the moment, but I'm sure they're out there, and I'm sure you'll tell me. Wow. What have we discovered? That this song, although startlingly original and wild at times, is based, on the whole, I would say more than 50% of it on conventional harmony, albeit in a few unusual key relationships. And that there are certain harmonic motifs and actual motifs. That one in particular, the chromatic one, interesting, that comes back, is threaded throughout the piece to give it more of a sense of cohesion. And that if you strip away the extraordinary arrangements and voices, for the most part we're left with a fairly conventional song, if not maybe, 2 or 3 conventional songs kind of shoved in together. Because this doesn't have a great deal to do with some of the chords are the same. Again, some of the patterns, some of the motifs are the same, but the feel and the style is very different, as with the operatic section. So I hope that's helped understand a little bit about the harmony of Bohemian Rhapsody and what it's doing and where it's behaving itself and where it's not behaving itself. And if you've got any questions, comments, put them below. If you like this, like it. If you want to subscribe and see more stuff like this, then please subscribe. It makes a big difference. Check out my other videos, check out the C chord tutorial in the link, and I'll see you all next time. This is the Chord Whisperer out.